Douglas, what are you doing? Come on, Douglas, what are you doing? Welcome to the main Central Lowell Road, and this is a redo of the kit bashing of the Rigby Yard steam plant. The first video I posted, apparently the sound from the music that I added was extremely loud, and then my talk was low. So I'm going back and redoing this and reposting it because it's pretty disturbing, although I don't understand why I can't see that when I'm finished editing, but apparently it's coming out that way in other people's computers. So I'm going to go ahead and repost this again and finish up this, and I'm just going to talk through these pictures coming up. This picture I took when I was in high school on a Christmas day, and I wish I could go back and take a picture of the actual powerhouse itself. And here's an overhead aerial shot of the original powerhouse when it was coal-fired, showing the coal ramp and the coal structure, which is no longer there in the 1970s, which is the period that I'm building the model for. You also know that the roundhouse is almost a full, complete circle in this picture. So here you can see it. This is about in the 1970s. They've torn down about a third of the roundhouse at Rigby. The plant is now oil-fired. There's one tank car sitting right next to it. And that whole stretch of track that goes past it, you'd see 2 or 3 tank cars there most of the time, more in the wintertime, obviously, but that's where they would unload fuel oil. And here again, another picture I took, and in the background there's the power plant. There's all kinds of pictures where I can see the top, the sides, but nothing that shows you the whole plant. In this picture here, it's taken from the top of the hill across from the engine service facility. And again, great picture of the smokestack. You can tell its 2 sides are 2 window side, and it has a low building on the other side there. But again, the detail is just not there, and there's not a direct picture of it. So I used 2 of these Walthers shop building #1 kits to build it, and just by luck, I was lucky because it comes with a 4-wall section wall that's seen there. It also has a 3-section wall, which it doesn't show, which I used for the 3-wall section of the kit bash. I was glad to find that. That was quite a surprise. And here I've got the 3-section wall, and I've cut down 2 of the 2 door sections that come with it and glued them together. And I did that for both sides of the 2-section wall. The windows that come with it are kind of a pain. They, the mullins or the frames are etched in the plastic, and the plastic is very, clear plastic, very shiny, so it doesn't stick anything to it. Painting it or using a Sharpie was the best solution I could come up with. The structure here has got the inside sections that go on the 3-wall section. It came with the walls that were in the kit that weren't used for the original structure that I'm using, and those came in real handy, made it look nice. I also used evergreen strip and evergreen angles in the joints where I put the different sections of the building together. And the purpose of this is it gives it more strength. Some of the walls I had to sand at an angle to get them to go together, and other walls actually had the angle from the kit that I could use, but I always use evergreen stripping and angles to take things and give some more strength. The cap here is just sanded smooth and then butted together on the top of the wall. Here, there's a cut word on that line, but I didn't cut there. This is before I figured out how to do it, so that cut word shouldn't be there. The main building section is complete here, and the walls, the lower sections are actually doorways, and I filled in the ones I didn't want a door to the same size as the window openings. Now I've taken the other 4-section wall and cut that into 2 3-section pieces and 2 single-section pieces to make the 1-story portion of the building. I'm trying to show that here. Here I've taken those walls and glued them all together. So you now have the single-story section of it. Another angle of it here showing it, how it butts together. So I installed the roofs using evergreen sheet plastic, and it just happened to be 6 inches wide on both the upper roof and the lower roof. So that made it easy to cut and fit this. And then I used angle to make sure the joint was strong. You notice I got Tamiya cement there. That's what I use for most of the model work I do. The mortar is done with Fast and Final, which is a compound you can use for patching holes in the wall. You wipe it on and you wipe it off, and then it leaves it in the grooves of the bricks. I added vents for steam and plumbing in the building. I usually do that in any building I build, so I usually don't have those details on them, but it's easy to make with some scrap evergreen tubing. You see the walls are all fitted together, the door is installed, the windows are installed. The next thing I did is I mounted it on a piece of foam core board, and then I sprayed the whole structure with, I'd call it dull coat, but it's not dull coat. It's used by modelers of figures to give them dull, the spray paint on their figures so they aren't shiny. I should have probably figured out that part and told everybody too, because I think it's better than dull coat. So I'm going to call this an end for this boiler house for Rigby Yard here. And since it's going to be shipped, I mounted it to a piece of foam board, and it'll just make it easier to plan it and set it in the layout when it gets to it. The other thing is it had those glass block windows on it. So what I've done is sprayed the whole outside of the building with matte spray, so the windows no longer are transparent. They have that glazed look. And then inside, I didn't do a lot of detail on the inside, but I put a couple of pieces of black cubed up paper in there and glued it to the base so that it looks like there's shapes in there for boilers in the steam plant and other things like that. The other thing is the actual chimney is not glued in right now because I'm going to have to ship it, and I think that'll have to be sitting down separate. And but it'll just be put on, and I'll have instructions on how to glue it to the base. And then the last thing is I'm going to include these in the kit also, but there's the steam piping actually came out through this window area here and went over like that. But rather than build into the structure, I'll just provide the piping itself made out of sprue with the pieces to mount it, and send that with the kit also. So it's been a fun kit. I've enjoyed building it. I've enjoyed figuring out how to build it. The smokestack is one of those Walter smokestacks, but I wanted it taller. I mean, in reality, the real smokestack should be about this tall, and it should actually be larger. But there's just people don't make a whole lot of brick chimneys out there. There's not a lot of choice, and I didn't want to go the route of figuring out how to scratch build a brick chimney. So this side of it's a side that was served by rail. So in the previous years when it was in service, initially it was steam powered, and there was actually a big ramp that ran up here, and then there was the building that actually sat out here that a coal hopper could be set right there, and the coal would be dropped out and it would go in and shoot into the boiler house. And that was just covered up after it went to oil firing. So in the 60s and 70s, that same track that ran across the front here was basically laid flat on the ground, and the ramp went away, and then there was oil tank cars would come in here with fuel oil, number 2 fuel oil, and unload and power, provide, fuel for the power plant. So one last look. I think it'll be a good stand-in for the PT powerhouse. I mean, it's not an exact replication of it, but it's got the shape, the side, the windows, the amount of windows, the height, and the way that it's configured is the same as the PT boiler house.
Fu Man, do you think the video's ready to go? Is the video ready to go? Should we send it out? You think everybody's going to like it? I guess that's a yes.